Chris Meyer, principal at St. Paul's Lutheran School in Waverly. This is the 7th week we've been doing these, or thereabout, and so I want to come from a different angle. Let me tell you a story. It is told that there were 2 prime ministers sitting in a room discussing the affairs of the state. Suddenly, a man bursts in, furiously shouting and stamping his feet. He bangs his fists on the table. The resident prime minister calmly cautions him by saying, Peter, kindly remember rule number 6. Whereupon Peter instantly restores to complete calm, apologizes, and leaves the room. Politicians return to their conversation and are soon interrupted by a woman coming in and shouting wildly. Again, the prime minister gently says, Marie, please remember rule number 6. The woman immediately calms, apologizes, and quietly leaves the room. When it happens a 3rd time, the visiting prime minister finally asks his colleague, My friend, I've seen a lot of things in my lifetime, but I have never seen anything like this. This is remarkable. Would you please share with me what is the secret of rule number 6? Very simple, the other prime minister responds. Rule number 6 is, don't take yourself so seriously. Ah, said the visitor. And may I ask, what are the other rules? To which the other prime minister replies, there aren't any. During these times, when we feel powerless and we earnestly wait for a vaccine or some kind of end to this catastrophic situation, we can often take the situation of the world upon our shoulders, and it weighs heavily. It can deplete us of joy and hope. The story of the prime ministers reminds us that we are in control to choose our perspective. We are in control to choose our reaction, and thus we are in control to choose joy for the journey. Norman Cousins was an activist and journalist. In 1964, he was diagnosed with a connective tissue disease that had the potential to take all his strength, mobility, and ultimately take his life. It compromised his entire immune system. He decided if he was going to combat this disease, he would have to give it his all. So, he, along with his medications and a heavy dose of vitamin C, settled into a hotel room and for hours and hours upon end, watched every video movie of a comedy origin that he could find. He continued to fill his life with laughter, and indeed, he defeated his disease. Norman Cousins went on to write and speak about the power of laughter in our lives, on our health. He learned that death is not the greatest loss in life. He said, and I quote, "The greatest loss is what dies inside us while we live," unquote. For 6 weeks, America has lived in basic seclusion, not knowing what will happen. But I'm thinking it might be time to enact rule number 6. Do not take ourselves so seriously. Maybe we need a dose of what Norman Cousins did to change his life around. Maybe we need to laugh and learn how to find more of it in our everyday, in spite of the unknown, in spite of what may lie ahead, in spite of the struggles we are going through right this very day. The humorist Erma Bombeck once penned, and I quote, "There is a thin line that separates laughter and pain, comedy and tragedy, humor and hurt," unquote. There are times when I laugh so hard I feel myself rising to a point where suddenly my gales of laughter turn into sobs of crying. At that moment, I cannot control it. I teeter-totter between laughing and then crying. I call it a phenomenon. But the exhilaration of both emotions is so powerful and so wonderful. It has taught me that there is no doubt that the line between joy and grief, laughter and crying, is thin and very closely related. I have so many questions to ask God about that one. In the same scene from the movie Steel Magnolias that I referred to last week, Sally Field's character finishes her tirade of anger over the death of her daughter. She says, "I want to hit someone until they feel as bad as I do. I want to hit something. I want to hit it hard." Suddenly, one of her friends pushes another friend whose name is Weezer toward her, saying, "Here, hit this. Go ahead, slap her." The woman Weezer is trying to free herself from the grasp, angrily huffing and puffing. The scene goes on a bit. But what happened next is evidence to the line between joy and pain. Suddenly, they all begin to laugh at the moment, the humanness of the situation. They break into peals of laughter, and the healing of their hearts begin. Powerful. There is a lesson in there for us today. We can choose to stay in the world of, "I don't understand, I can't stand this, what is going to happen?" Or we can start by living rule number 6 and not take ourselves so seriously and begin to see the funniest in our humanness, even for a moment. I have a friend, Roz, whose mother is into her 90s, struggling with memory loss. They talk several times a day on the phone now because there are 2 hours separating them. One day, Roz's 92-year-old mom decided she wanted to try to knit again. She was formerly a prolific knitter. So Roz, over the phone, got her started on the project. It took nearly a day for her to remember how to cast on and begin the sweater. There has been no progress. Roz reports that her mom starts the sweater over and over many times a day, not understanding why she's not getting very far. It made me just chuckle. We were not laughing at her mom, but at the human condition, of which, if you look closely, is full of hilarity. What I just described is a bit of a thing called gallows humor. I first learned of this during my training as an EMT when I started working on the ambulance. Gallows humor is a kind of humor that makes fun of life-threatening, disastrous, or terrifying situations. It is a release to help us deal with what has the potential to be upsetting or even terrifying. It is not caustic or hurtful. It is not hurtful teasing or belittling. It is a release of humor that filters the fear and eases the tension. It would do us good to look at these times and find humor lurking in the darkness. It can light our way, shimmering joy on our path. I always tell people it's a good idea to keep a little mental satchel or a file of humorous situations to recall when you need a lift, so that your heart can be relieved of the heaviness of its burden. One that always brings a smile to my face, that I keep tucked close to me for instant recall, is of a time a year ago when I was dealing with 2 little kindergarten boys and a recess situation. It didn't take me long after starting this job that I learned as principal. When kids came into my office, I could pray with them. I could also teach them forgiveness. So, whenever there was a dispute between children that required an apology of one, I had them ask the other, "Will you forgive me?" So last year, these 2 little kindergarten boys were brought into my office from recess with the report that they were punching and hitting. They both told me 2 different stories. Finally, we meted out the real story, and then they apologized to each other. Then I looked at Henry, encouraging him to do the next step as I always do. I looked at him, I said, "And will you forgive me?" Henry looked at me square in the face and said, "I forgive you, Mrs. Mayo." There was silence. And all of a sudden, I broke into laughter. And those 2 little kindergartners followed suit. Every time I think of that incident, I smile. And every time I relay it to someone else, laughter pours out of me. Carol Jakowski is a former nun. She wrote a book entitled 10 Fun Things to Do Before You Die. To me, it is a profound book about living life fully. One of my favorite chapters is the first one, entitled, Have More Fun Than Anyone Else. The subtitles of that chapter are, number 1, find fun people. Number 2, don't think about yourself around other people. Number 3, be a fun person. Number 4, if it looks like fun and doesn't break the 10 Commandments, do it. I received that book for my 50th birthday. The group I was with that evening and I were almost kicked out of the restaurant because we laughed so loud that the server could not hear the order at the next table. The book is all about living deeply while living rule number 6. Several months after receiving this book, I was up at the Mayo Clinic for an appointment. I was sitting in the waiting room reading it. I'm sure people looked over at me reading the book called 10 Fun Things to Do Before You Die, and I must have thought, that's too bad. She probably doesn't have much time to live. Fortunately, laughter is free. The key to find humor in every aspect of life. If you don't have the state of mind for laughter yet, maybe you want to look for a good movie that you know will make you laugh. Or maybe you want to Zoom or call people that'll help you recall events that are so funny that it just brings a chuckle to you. Remembering funny events in the past is a powerful contagion as laughter spreads throughout your body. Laughter is contagious, and you will find the more you look for it, the more it will find you. This spring, our 5th grade teacher, Stephanie Rickenberg, sent me a YouTube video that was so fun. When I watched it, they heard me laughing all the way into the staff lounge. Go on YouTube and look for Wonky Donkey Scottish Laughing Grandma. I'll say it again, Wonky Donkey Scottish Laughing Grandma. It will bring your heart into merriment. During this time of stress on our spirits, it may go deep into us in ways of which we are not aware. I believe by practicing rule number 6, we can help utilize what God has given us to defeat the lasting effects of trauma. And that is a bit of joy. Looking for joy and laughter in the everyday boosts our immune system, helps in the prevention of heart disease, reduces stress levels, increases pain tolerance, improves blood pressure, and helps you sleep. It's not the little hee-hee, but letting yourself enjoy the fullness of belly laughing, like that of the wonky donkey laughing grandma. Laughter acts as a release for anger and fearful emotions, helping us cope with tragic events. It leaves us with positive feelings about ourselves and the conditions we're facing. Sylvia Mauger said, and I quote, "To be able to laugh at ourselves, acknowledging that we are fallible human beings, is an effective tool that enables us to see things in perspective. The appropriate humor never belittles or criticizes. It's based on caring and empathy," unquote. Humor simplifies dismal and complex situations. Humor is God's creation for us to use in order to cleanse us. It is the shampoo of our spirit, our soul. It is God within us. God permeates our being. So if God is love, joy, peace, humor, those are then who we are. Let it explode. God is the creator of humor and laughter. It is said that the shortest distance between two people is laughter. If it were not so, would we not start laughing just because someone else does? Why did God, the almighty creator of the universe, create this magical thing called laughter? Perhaps because God also knew it would be a vital antidote in the time that we've spent in grief, in the time of pandemics, in the time of hurt. God knew it was essential for life. God knew that in times such as this, humans would need to be reminded of rule number 6. Step outside. Hear the birds. See that the magnificent creation is bigger than the worries of tomorrow, the worries of next week. Remember rule number 6 and laugh. Grab the joy, or it shatters the darkness. There was a group of scientists who discovered 2 brothers. One of the brothers was always negative, always complaining. He wanted this, he didn't get this, he was always mad about this. The other brother is happy-go-lucky, didn't have a care in the world. The scientists decided to do a little bit of an experiment. They put the 2 boys in separate rooms. The negative boy they put into a room filled with everything a kid could want: games, computer games, bicycles, food, anything he wanted. The happy-go-lucky brother was put in a room filled with manure. After 4 hours, they went to check on the brothers. In the first room, they found the negative brother with everything a kid could want, just as negative as they put him in there. And he was just complaining away, wanting this. He didn't get to play with that. He wanted to have this instead of this. And so they went to check on the other brother, the happy-go-lucky brother, in the room filled with manure. When they got in there, they saw that his head was into the manure. He's digging away. And when he sees them, he looks up and says, "Oh, I thought with all this manure in here, there'd have to be a pony in here somewhere." Yes, we are in a pandemic. So, look for the pony. Will you pray with me? Gracious God, we are surrounded by fear, worry, and illness that threatens our joy. Remind us every day that you made us to enjoy something in each moment in spite of what it holds. Remind us that you made us to find joy in each moment because of what it holds. Help us now to relax our mind and direct our eyes to see the fun, to feel the laughter rise and fill us full of joy. For it must be in the fullness of joy that the door of hope can fling open wide. Focus our eyes on the light so that we might see the pony instead of the manure surrounding us during this time. We rest in your smile. Amen. I'm Chris Meyer. I look forward to seeing you next week.